welcome to WION World is One. We are glad you're watching. Time now for Climate Tracker with me, Eric Njoka. On the show today, Thailand is facing unprecedented levels of heat when it is already grappling with dangerous levels of air pollution. We'll also be looking at Italy, which is facing the worst drought it has seen in the last 70 years. Climate activists in Portugal are attempting to raise awareness of the pollution caused by cigarette butts. All this and much more over the next 30 minutes. Let's begin. Thailand is facing unprecedented levels of heat. This comes amid the country battling a drastic increase in respiratory problems triggered by a spike in air pollution. Since the beginning of 2023, 2.4 million people needed treatment for medical problems due to air pollution. As per health officials, this includes nearly 200,000. This is the last week alone. Now, officials in Thailand warned residents to avoid outdoor activities over the weekend. They said residents should be wary of extremely high temperatures and sudden summer storms even in the coming week. Officials also warned that temperatures could cross 50 degrees Celsius in parts of the country. The intense heat and drought has taken a toll on Thailand. There has also been a surge in power demand across the country.
เรารู้สึกว่ามันร้อนมากแต่เราว่าร้อนทุกปีนะไม่รู้แล้วว่ามากกว่าไหมอ่ะแต่ว่าใช่ปีนี้คือขนาดเราเปิดแอร์20องศาเรายังเหงื่อออก
ถ้าคุณลุงเปิดออกถ้าไม่มีหน้ากากนะหรือไม่มีแว่นปกติลุงขับรถต้องใส่แว่นดำด้วยถ้าไม่มีแว่นรู้สึกว่ามันจะเคืองตารู้สึกว่ามันแสบจมูกอ่ะอันนี้เรื่องจริงนะ
The intense heat warnings come even as Thailand is grappling with air pollution. Large numbers of citizens have reported respiratory problems due to the quality of the air. A report stated Bangkok and northern city of Chiang Mai were among the top 10 most polluted cities in the world. A respiratory disease specialist at the Central Chest Institute of Thailand said she has seen a drastic increase in patients since February this year. She says patients usually have respiratory problems like coughing and sore throats. One of the biggest concerns are tiny particles known as PM2.5. They are smaller than the diameter of a hair. It can penetrate deep into the lungs and even reach the bloodstream. As per reports, the average PM2.5 concentration in Thailand was 3.6 times the WHO's annual air quality guideline limits. According to Jos van der Leer, the World Health Organization representative to Thailand, in the long term, PM2.5 poses more risks for respiratory infections. If people have asthma, then can get worse. People can develop chronic lung diseases, even lung cancer.
ในแง่ของ PM 2.5 ถ้าเกิดว่าสูดดมเข้าไปค่ะถ้าระดับสูงต่อเนื่องอะค่ะก็คือเอารู้อยู่แล้วว่าถ้าระดับสูงต่อเนื่องเนี่ยจะมีผลทำให้เกิดโรคของระบบทางเดินหายใจคือการเกิดโรคง่ายขึ้นเช่นกลุ่มของถุงลมโป่งพองอย่างเงี้ยค่ะหรือว่าในเด็กอาจจะเกิดกลุ่มของหอบหืดขึ้นมาได้นะคะโดยเฉพาะนอกจากการเกิดโรคแล้วเนี่ยยังมีปัญหาเรื่องของการเกิดการกำเริบของโรคนั้นๆที่เขามีอยู่อะค่ะ
The main reasons for toxic smog are smoke from forest fires, farmers burning crop stubble, pollution from vehicles and heavy industry-generated fumes. The poor air quality is a growing issue in Thailand, and the incumbent government has been accused of not doing enough to combat the surge. These claims come ahead of elections scheduled for May 14th. Climate change is triggering extreme weather in parts or in large parts of Europe. This is leading to extended periods of dry spells. Italy is the latest country to face the heat. It is going to experience its second year of severe droughts. And Lake Garda in northern Italy has dropped to its lowest levels in 70 years. Last year, Italy's lakes helped ease the drought. This year, chances look bleak. As per a researcher, the Italian National Research Council, water in Lake Garda, which flows into the River Po, is below half the normal levels.
La conseguenza di una siccità così lunga è sotto gli occhi di tutti. I grandi laghi sono ben al di sotto dei livelli medi stagionali e soprattutto il Garda è al pari del minimo storico, con solo il 38% circa del suo riempimento. E lungo l'intera asta del Po la portata è inferiore a quella dello scorso anno nello stesso periodo.
Poor winter rains, dismal snowfalls have failed to replenish reserves in Italy, and spring's arrival brings more worries. The months of May, June and July are likely to be warmer than average, while Italy is already facing its worst drought in 70 years. Last month, the president of the Lombardy region said water storage levels were less than half what they were normally at this time of the year.
Anche secondo i maggiori centri meteo europei, i prossimi 3 mesi, maggio, giugno e luglio, saranno con buona probabilità più caldi della media, mentre per quanto riguarda le precipitazioni potrebbero risultare in linea con il periodo, ricordando però che l'estate è comunque la stagione meno piovosa dell'anno. Dovremo quindi prepararci ad affrontarla consapevoli di dover probabilmente rivivere una situazione critica come quella dello scorso anno, con una ridotta disponibilità idrica.
The agricultural sector is facing the brunt of the droughts. Called Diretti, Italy's main farmers association, say the sector had lost $6.6 billion last year. It predicted 300,000 more businesses would lose if the drought does not end. Experts say this would require non-stop rainfall till May or even June. This is when farmers irrigate their fields.
Quindi si prevederà della scarsità di acqua quest'estate, però speriamo appunto che ci siano pure precipitazioni in maniera tale da risolvere un po' il problema.
Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni set up a control room last month to monitor water capacity across the country. She also appointed a national commissioner to oversee the issue. At a local level, the Lombardy government told water companies and hydroelectric operators to limit their usage. 19 towns in Lombardy are also experiencing their highest levels of water shortage. Some towns had already started receiving water in trucks.
La situazione è tragica un po' dappertutto, soprattutto in Lombardia e in Piemonte, perché adesso nel sud ci sono stati temporali fortissimi e un pochino ripristinato, però la siccità è dovuta a questa atmosfera e bisogna ricorrere a qualche cosa di diverso per ripristinare un po' l'equilibrio idrogeologico.
Di fatto la frequenza e l'intensità con cui gli eventi estremi si succedono stanno alzando sempre di più l'asticella e i costi di una reazione diventano insostenibili e lasciano delle ferite sempre più profonde e difficili da risanare.
Chilean dolphins are one of the world's smallest breeds of its kind. They are native to the cold Pacific waters off Chile's western coast. They share the space with humans, and this leads to multiple concerns. The latest concern, though, is the threat of bird flu, which has now been detected in marine animals. As per Soledad Tapia, the director of the country's fisheries service, 2 species of dolphins have been infected by the virus.
Otra de las amenazas que hoy día tenemos también en nuestro país y que ha llegado es la influenza aviar. La influenza aviar, si bien es una enfermedad que es un virus que es de alta patogenicidad y que se da en aves silvestres, también tenemos hoy en día 2 especies de delfines que han sido lamentablemente, se han enfermado con este virus y que también están sufriendo un poco lo que está pasando con lobos marinos y con otra fauna marina de nuestro país. ¿Ya? Entonces ellos también en el fondo están en una categoría vulnerable.
Chile has a long coastline and is one of the top exporters of fish and aquatic produce. The small population of dolphins lives along the coast, which is used by humans for sea farming and extracting seaweed. As per vet Cayetano Espinosa, this situation of sharing spaces makes the dolphin population very fragile.
Es la única especie de cetáceo única de Chile que no habita en ninguna otra parte del mundo y tiene una distribución incluso muy restringida dentro de Chile. Solo habita en lugares muy específicos, que además los humanos usamos también porque son bahías protegidas, porque son lugares buenos también para el humano. Entonces tenemos un solapamiento de espacios entre el humano y el delfín chileno. Y sabiendo esto, aún más tenemos que proteger y cuidar a esta especie, que es una especie única, pero también muy frágil, porque son muy pocos individuos los que nos van quedando.
José Luis Brito, curator of the Natural History Museum at Chile's main maritime terminal in San Antonio, says he constantly receives reports of dolphins stranded on beaches, sometimes tangled in nets.
Recibo información de pescadores y personas transeúntes que los encuentran varados en las playas, producto del enredo a veces en las redes de forma incidental y a veces también muertos por contaminación al consumir plásticos u otros productos nefastos. El delfín chileno, como dije, está desapareciendo alarmantemente y cada vez es más difícil verlo en la costa.
Climate activists in Portugal raised awareness about cigarette butts and the harm they cause to the environment. Since this is an often overlooked form of pollution, activists collected some 650,000 butts and piled them up in the heart of the capital city of Lisbon. Check out these visuals. Activists have been collecting these butts for nearly a week. They aim to create awareness among foreign tourists about the problem of cigarette butts.
The main problem with the butts, it's not biodegradable. So basically it contains a form of plastic and even worse, a lot of toxins and heavy metals, chemicals. So with any rain, all those toxins getting flushed out of the cigarette butt and getting straight on the street from the sinks into here right now we're next to Tejo River, it goes all straight into the ocean, and the city is not capable of treating the water from the street, so everything goes straight into the ocean.
According to Andres Noy, 2 years ago, they picked 1 million cigarette butts in 2 months. He said it was beautiful that so many people were coming together to participate in this awareness campaign.
We act locally, but we show the problem and the craziness with these images. Like, it's opening eyes, and that's what I want to achieve, like to make people stop and think about, okay, it's not just one butt, it's a lot of little acts coming together, and that's just an example for the entire world. Yeah.
Climate activists worldwide held demonstrations to mark the 54th Earth Day celebrations. They demanded action over climate change and environmental issues. They urged action to check global warming and cut plastics use. Volunteers also planted trees and cleared trash. In the United Kingdom, thousands descended on the country's parliament. The protest focused on nature and biodiversity. It was kicked off by environmental group Extinction Rebellion. They organized a 4-day campaign called The Big One to highlight environmental failures of the government.
The whole thing is about influencing politicians. We've got May elections coming up fairly soon. The Conservatives don't really talk about climate very much, and their policies are very inadequate. So maybe they'll realise that there's a significant number of the voting public who do want something to happen.
In San Francisco, demonstrators carried banners reading "Youth versus Apocalypse" as they made their way through the city. In New York City, cars were banned on streets in at least 31 locations for 5 hours on Saturday to mark the 54th Earth Day. In Washington, D.C., over 100 activists took part in a demonstration demanding a move away from fossil fuels. In Florida, sculptures made of recycled art highlighted the day. Meanwhile, many others across the world marked the event in unique ways. In Peru, shamans and healers from across the country gathered in the capital Lima to perform a ritual so that the earth can be calmer and human loss prevented. While in China, a performance artist decided to wear a costume of 200 balloons in the shape of microphones and a hat or a headset in the shape of the earth. According to the artists, the idea was for each country in the world to express their gratitude to nature and even the planet. At least 1,200 children are dying in Europe every year due to toxic air. 1,200. That's what European Environment Agency has revealed in a study. The agency has also warned that due to air pollution, children are at an increased risk of contracting a chronic disease later in life. The study was conducted in over 30 countries, including 27 members of the European Union. Now, according to the agency, the level of key air pollutants in many European countries remain stubbornly above the WHO guidelines. An expert working with the WEA said that Europe is failing its children. The study was the European agency's first to focus specifically on younger population. Last year, the agency had said that air pollution resulted in 238,000 deaths in Europe in 2020. With the effects of air pollution sinking their claws into children right when they're in the womb, it continues to deteriorate their health as they grow up. The agency says air pollution has an impact on a child's development and makes them vulnerable to higher levels of respiratory disease, ear infections, and puts them at an increased risk of allergies. Children are the most susceptible to the ill effects of poor air quality because they have a faster breathing rate, are closer to the ground, and are outdoors more. The report did not cover the major industrial nations of Russia, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom, suggesting the overall death tolls from Europe or for Europe could be even higher. Experts were also noted as saying that there are some things that Europe can do to make European children's lives better, such as reducing the sources of air pollution, reducing road traffic, coal and solid fuel burning, and industrial emissions is key. But putting clean air zones around schools, where traffic would be restrained and idling engines prohibited, and planting trees, ivy screens, and hedge fences around playgrounds is also necessary. Research also suggests that around 110,000 people with disabilities lose their lives each year under the age of 18 due to poor air quality. From mountain peaks to ocean depths, climate change continued its advance in 2022. The relentless advance of climate change brought more droughts, flooding and heat waves to communities around the world. This is according to the annual report from the World Meteorological Organization. The report, titled "The State of the Global Climate 2022," released by the United Nations, has revealed that in the past few years, temperatures in Europe have increased sharply, causing some 15,000 heat wave-related deaths in 2022. In some areas, extreme heat was coupled with exceptionally dry conditions. The report further states the years between 2015 and 2022 were the warmest on record, despite 3 consecutive years of a cooling La Nina. Even in China, the country had its most extensive and long-lasting heat wave since national records began, extending from mid-June to the end of August, resulting in the hottest summer on record by a margin of more than 0.5 degrees Celsius. And as the mean temperature of the world was increasing, according to the report, global sea levels rose twice as quickly as they did 2 decades ago. As a result of the massive melting of the world's glaciers, this is a cause of concern as rising sea levels threaten some coastal cities and the very existence of low-lying states. The annual report also stated last June and July, sea ice in Antarctica receded to record lows, and the melting of some European glaciers was off the charts. Between October 2021 and October 2022, the average thickness of the world's reference glaciers, those for which long-term measurements are available, decreased by more than 1.3 meters, a loss far greater than the average over the previous 10 years. And since 1970, there has been a total loss of about 30 meters of thickness due to a combination of insufficient winter snow, a Saharan dust invasion in March 2022, and heat waves between May and early September. The Alps broke records for glacier melt in Europe. Meanwhile, rainfall has been below average in 5 consecutive wet seasons, the longest such sequence in 40 years. In the African continent, drought has gripped East Africa. As of January this year, it was estimated that over 20 million people face acute food insecurity across the region due to the lack of availability of water. In Somalia, almost 1.2 million people became internally displaced by the catastrophic impact of drought on pastoral and farming livelihoods. But record-breaking rain in July and August led to extensive flooding in Pakistan. The record-breaking rainfall left huge swathes of the country underwater. There were over 1,700 deaths. 33 million people were affected, while almost 8 million people were displaced. The flooding in Pakistan led to the total damage and economic losses assessed at $30 billion. As the world faces the consequences of climate change, climate scientists have warned that the world could breach a new average temperature record in 2023 or 2024, fueled by climate change and the anticipated return of warming El Niño conditions. And that's the latest on this edition of WION's Climate Tracker. Thank you very much for your time and for watching. Stay with us. This is WION World is One. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.